Everybody knows what it's like to talk on a satellite connection for a voice call, right? There's a delay. And everybody knows what it's like to try to check your bank account via a geostationary satellite. You time out. So you need low latency, you need almost no delay. And that's why Telesat from Canada, OneWeb from the UK, Amazon, Viasat, and Starlink, all out of the United States. The Chinese have three, right? So they won't all come to fruition, but because of political reasons, you're going to see probably three, right? So there'll be a US system, and there will be people who don't want to use or aren't allowed to use a US licensed system, right? And the same for a Chinese system. They're going to have one because they'll have needs that they feel insecure using a non-Chinese built and licensed system. So there are unfortunately political issues.
If you can come up with some binding rules that sort of manage what is safe, what is acceptable, both from a communication standpoint, from a national security standpoint, from a light pollution standpoint, all of these things included, I think you're going to get to a place where you're driving people toward fewer, more capable satellites. And what does that mean? I mean, if you look at what the FCC did, the Federal Communications Commission in the United States, they've made some decisions, including allowing up to 12,000 SpaceX satellites. And the result of that really is the reaction that you're seeing, for example, in China. I mean, they in fact specifically said that their systems are in reaction to the Elon Musk system. So if you just look at the percentages of what the US has from a geostationary standpoint, the numbers of satellites that they have probably 20 to 40% of the satellites out there today, right? Separate that from SpaceX, just what had existed. Right now, they've actually approved almost 50,000 if you look at it in total. Extrapolate that to the rest of the world. You may end up seeing somewhere between 250,000 and 500,000 satellites in LEO orbit. That's unsustainable.
The Viasat, LEO, Telesat, OneWeb, they're all going to be the equivalent of 4G quality connection, right? That is the idea, and they'll provide 5G for the most part when that's been standardized. I think that SpaceX might be more, well, it's similar to another concern, fast fashion or disposable, right? You buy something cheap at Primark and you throw it away a month later, as opposed to buying something incredibly expensive that lasts for 50 years. So SpaceX is doing cheap, fast, get them up quickly. If they fail, I don't care, launch something better. And they want massive amounts of capacity in small, cheap satellites. Whereas Viasat and OneWeb and some of the others are saying, no, test it on the ground, for God's sake, get it right, make it larger and more powerful to begin with. And so we're only going to need, and as I said, our Gen 1 is planned for about 550 on orbit with spares. We are hoping truly that Gen 2 will be fewer satellites, right? Because they'll be more powerful and you won't need as many, especially since we're now aware that it is a light pollution problem, if not a radio pollution problem, right? So I'm telling you, nobody wants to hurt the astronomers. Quite a few applications, especially if it's a one-way broadcast or you don't need a quick response in return, absolutely can be done from geostationary, and that would be a better technology, right? And some things you're close enough to a city center and you can do them with fiber or cellular mobile, and that would be a better technology, right? But in between are areas where you can't lay fiber, they're mountainous or they're over the water. Or it's too expensive, it's not going to happen. How are you best going to cover those parts of the globe? That's what you need the LEO satellites for. And honestly, you cannot check your bank account if the delay is too long. So these are real concerns. You cannot do somebody's health check or their blood pressure via a geostationary satellite if the delay is too long. So there are different applications for different technologies.
Yeah, can I just add just real quick? I would say that these things are complementary of each other, right? So I do think that Geo provides an extreme amount of capacity over a large area, and then there are the applications that are much needed from a low latency perspective that can complement the Geo or vice versa. So I do think you could have a smaller number of the Leos, in the Geos, and then you have a great system. But the rules that are put out there will decide everything.